Esteemed mortal of New Orleans, they have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. Hello everyone, my name is Kurt. On this channel, we have spoken about Jane and John Does which have been murdered. Today is going to be different. We're going to be talking about a serial killer which murdered 6 people and left 12 others seriously injured. Let's talk about the Axeman of New Orleans. As the killer's name suggests, the victims were usually attacked with an axe, which would belong to the victims themselves. In most of these cases, a panel or the back door was removed by a chisel, which were both left on the floor near the door. Once the Axeman entered the house, he would attack the victims with either an axe or a straight razor. These crimes were not motivated by robbery, and the serial killer never removed any items from the victims' homes. Majority of the Axeman's victims were Italian immigrants or Italian Americans, leading many people to believe the Axeman despised Italians. A year after the murder spree began, a serial killer started to toy with the people and the police. The killer wrote a letter on the 13th of March 1919. The letter said he would kill 15 minutes past midnight on the night of March 19, but he would spare the occupants of any place where a jazz band was playing. That night, all of New Orleans dance halls were filled to capacity, and professional and amateur bands played jazz at parties at hundreds of houses around town. The killer kept his word and no murders were committed that night. Some people were not intimidated by the Axeman. Some citizens were well armed and, on the newspaper, challenged the Axeman to visit their houses. One of the citizens promised to leave a window open for the Axeman, politely asking him not to damage the front door. Joseph and his wife Kathleen were attacked on the 22nd of May 1918. While sleeping, the killer broke into the home and proceeded to cut the couple's throats with a straight razor. Before leaving, the killer bashed their heads in with an axe. People believe he did this to hide the real cause of death. Joseph survived the attack but died minutes later after being discovered by his brothers. Kathleen died prior to the brothers' arrival. Her throat had been cut so deep that her head was nearly severed from her shoulders. In the apartment, law enforcement found bloody clothes from the murder, which implied the killer had changed his clothes before leaving the scene. Lewis and his mistress Harriet were attacked on the early hours of June 27, 1918. They were both struck in the head with a hatchet. Lewis died at the scene, but Harriet died after a failed surgery. Anna was 8 months pregnant when she was attacked in the early evening hours of August 5, 1918. Anna awoke to see a dark figure standing over her, which was bashing her face repeatedly. Her scalp had been cut open, and her face was completely covered in blood. Anna was discovered by her husband after midnight, and she was rushed to the hospital. Anna claimed she remembered nothing about the attack and gave birth to a healthy baby girl 2 days after the incident. Joseph was an elderly man who was living with his 2 nieces. On the 10th of August 1918, Pauline and Mary awoke to noises. When they entered Joseph's room, they found their uncle with serious blows to the head. The killer was fleeing the scene when they arrived. The only information they provided is that he wore a dark suit and a slouched hat. Joseph died 2 days later from severe head trauma. Charles, Rosie, and their 2-year-old daughter Mary were asleep on the night of March 10, 1919. Screams were heard from the neighbours during the night coming from the Charles home. A local grocer raced across the street to investigate. Upon arrival, the grocer noticed the family of 3 was attacked by an unknown intruder. Rosie stood in the doorway with serious head injuries, clutching her deceased daughter. Charles laid on the floor bleeding. The couple was rushed to the hospital, and it was discovered that they had suffered skull fractures. Nothing was stolen and a bloody axe was found on the back porch. Rosie and Charles survived the incident but sadly lost their child. Steve was attacked in his bedroom as he slept on the 10th of August 1919. Steve awoke to see a dark figure looming over his bed. Upon regaining consciousness, Steve ran out to the street to investigate the intrusion. When he found out, his head had been cracked open. Steve ran to one of his neighbours where he lost consciousness and collapsed. Steve could not remember any of the details of the trauma. This attack happened after the infamous Axeman letter. Sarah was attacked on the 3rd of September 1919. Neighbours came to check on the young woman who lived alone. When no one responded, the neighbours broke into the home, and that's when they discovered Sarah suffering from a head injury. She had been attacked with a bloody axe, which was discovered on the front lawn. Sarah did recover from her injuries, but she couldn't recall any details about the attack. Mike was attacked on the 27th of October 1919. His wife was awakened by a noise, and she discovered a large man with an axe fleeing the scene. Mike had been struck in the head, killing him instantly. Mike's wife was unable to describe any characteristics of the killer. This was the last official murder from the Axeman attacks. In the 1-year period, several suspects were announced, but no one was charged with the murders or attacks. Maybe in the future I'll make a video going through the suspects and their stories, but regardless, 6 people were murdered, including a 2-year-old child. These murders were committed 99 years ago. Sadly, these cases may never get solved, but hopefully one day, all of us will know the truth. Good night. If you want to watch a Jane or John Doe case, click a video to your left. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a video. Videos are uploaded weekly, and please let me know in the comments what you want to see next. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.